What's up, folks? I'm Cody Campbell with High Ground Gaming. Today we are unboxing and reviewing the HyperX Ally Origins 65 mechanical gaming keyboard. I'm going to start by walking you through the specs, then I'll open it up, let you take a look at what comes inside. After that, we'll go to the review portion where I'll give you my thoughts on it, and then we'll go to High Ground Gaming's final score. Stick around. So this is my fourth HyperX Ally Origins keyboard that I'm reviewing, but still somehow they managed to get me a little bit excited about this one. This is going to be a 65% form factor keyboard, and what that basically means is it's going to be just like a 60% keyboard in terms of the general dimensions and what comes on it, except it also comes with the arrow keys, the page up, page down keys, the home key, and the delete key. Now that's kind of a big deal because arrow keys are one of the trickiest things about a 60% form factor keyboard. So having dedicated arrow keys basically gives you the same utility as a TKL minus the F keys, but with the smaller form factor that allows more room for your mouse and more space on your desk. It's compatible with PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series S and X. It uses HyperX's own brand of mechanical switches. It's currently only available in the linear red, although HyperX also makes aqua tactile and a clicky blue, so it's possible that later versions will get those down the line. For right now, it's just got the reds though. Other than that, it's pretty much just like all the other Ally Origins keyboards. It's got the aircraft grade aluminum body, it's got the double shot PBT keycaps, it's got the removable USB Type-C cable, RGB, and it uses the NGENUITY software. That's about it for the specs though. Let's open it up. Underneath, we've got some paperwork. HyperX has you covered. We've got the quick start guide there. And then let's see what's underneath this cardboard. All right, here's the USB Type-C to USB Type-A cable. Now, just because the cable's removable does not mean that it's wireless. There's no battery in this keyboard, so you will need to have a wired connection. This is a good cable though. It's braided, plenty long. I think that's 5 feet, 6 feet, something like that. And it looks like we've got some other goodies in here. So you've got a couple removable keycaps. The space bar is interesting. It's actually got space themes. Get it? Space bar. Haha. And then we've also got a escape key or whatever else you'd like, and a keycap remover. But let's take a look at the actual keyboard. Overall, it looks real good. I've been a fan of the Ally Origins design since the first one I tested, which was the 60, I believe. It's got a real nice weight to it. That aircraft grade aluminum just feels super premium. We've got two sizes of adjustable feet on the back, so you can use the shorter level of incline or a steeper level of incline, depending on your preference. I tend to like the really steep level of incline. Those HyperX linear reds feel good, just like they did before. We did a full review of all HyperX's switches. If you're interested in checking that out, go ahead and take a look at that video. We'll go ahead and put a link to it in the description. And over here on the side, you can see what they added on. Usually a 60% keyboard would end right here and just have a longer shift key right there. This one just adds one row of extra buttons and puts the arrow keys down in the bottom corner here. Now, the trade-off there is that this shift key, instead of being 3 key lengths long, is only, it looks like kind of like 1.5 lengths. I've tested that on a couple other keyboards that have a similar design, and it does take a little while to get used to that shorter shift key, but I found after a week or two of using it, I got used to it and I stopped getting tripped up by that, but different people's mileage may vary. Other than that, we've got home, delete, page up, page down, and then we've got the function keys printed on the face in white there. Function key is right here, so you just hold this down and you'll be able to use those secondary functions, and you see the F keys are just secondary functions of the numbers, so it makes everything pretty easy to use. I think this is going to end up being a much better design than the typical 60%, so I'm very excited about testing this out. But I'm gonna go ahead and throw this on my computer. I'm gonna play some games and we'll be right back with the review portion. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks. It's time to talk about the HyperX Ally Origins 65 mechanical gaming keyboard. But before we get into the review, please leave a like and subscribe. All right, let's dive in and start, as we always do, by talking about the build quality. First of all, the aircraft grade aluminum frame on this thing is fantastic. It's my favorite frame on any keyboard that I've tested so far. It's completely rigid, it's got some weight to it so it doesn't move around at all, and the feet are really nice as well. They give it a couple different degrees of incline and both of them are completely stable. This keyboard never moves around or anything like that. And just as I suspected, the 65% form factor is awesome. I absolutely love having the arrow keys right here. It makes it really, really easy to use. Now, these aren't super important for gaming, so if you're a gamer looking for a gaming keyboard and you're just using it for gaming exclusively, the 60% is just fine. You don't need arrow keys in most games. I can't even think of one where you really need arrow keys, except maybe some like MMORPGs or something like that. But let's be honest, even if you use your computer for gaming 90% of the time, pretty much everybody uses their computer for more than just gaming. You're gonna go on social media, you're gonna be typing papers or whatever, right? And when you're doing that, having arrow keys is a night and day difference. And so I think this is the perfect crossover between the 60% and the TKL, where you get the compactness of the TKL with an extra ½ inch maybe, but you get all the utility. The double shot PBT keycaps are a nice touch too. They're a nice matte black, and PBT is always going to be better than ABS because it doesn't wear away as quickly from your fingers, so they don't really develop that shine quite as well. It's also got a nice texture to it. It just feels good to type on. One of the only downsides about the build quality is the switches. The fact that it only comes in reds kind of sucks. A lot of people like clicky blues or tactile browns, or in HyperX's case, tactile aquas. Reds are the most popular, so it makes sense that if they're only going to do one type of switch, they would go with reds, but HyperX already has these other switches, so I'm not really sure why they're not using them here. Anyway, when we did a full review of HyperX's switches before, we found same thing we found this time, and that's that they're just a little bit loose. They have a 0.2 millimeter higher actuation point, which means they're going to actuate just a little bit quicker when you click down on them. Some people really enjoy that because it means they're going to get faster reactions in FPS games and stuff like that, where every millisecond of an interaction really counts. And so that's really cool. I personally like just a tiny bit more tension in my keys than these. So in my book, Cherry MX and Kale switches are a little bit better than HyperX's, but HyperX's are pretty good. They're no slouches. They're much better than a lot of the mechanical switches that are on the market, so it's not bad. Now let's dive into the gaming performance real quick, because honestly, there's not a whole lot to say about it. I played some Halo Infinite and I had a really great time with it. The keys are spaced well enough that it's comfortable for my hand. I didn't feel like I was cramping up at all, which is something that you worry about in smaller form factor keyboards. So the key spacing seems to be pretty good. It's also extremely responsive. The USB Type-C cable is pretty much the fastest level of connectivity out there. So you don't have to worry about any dropped keys, any latency, or anything like that. Honestly, one of the best compliments that I can give a gaming keyboard is that while I'm playing the game, I'm not really thinking about the keyboard, I'm thinking about the game, and that's how I felt while I used this. Now let's talk about the RGB and the NGENUITY software. I actually quite like HyperX's software. It doesn't have all the features of a lot of the bigger brands, but I've noticed that everything on the HyperX software works exactly like it's supposed to, which you can't always say about some of the bigger brands. A lot of them tend to be pretty glitchy. There are 7 looping RGB effects and 3 triggered effects. Now, that's not a whole lot, but there is a lot of customization for those effects in the HyperX software. First of all, they can actually be layered on top of each other, so you can create custom effects by mixing 2 or more different effects. Then each of those effects can be changed by customizing opacity, brightness, speed, and direction of the lighting. You can also limit the color spectrum used in the effect. So if you don't want any green lights or yellow lights or something like that, you can take them out. That's kind of what I did here. I created a purple, blue, red effect so that it would only move within those colors, because that's the spectrum that I like to use in my desk setup. I've said it before and I'll say it again, but that's a feature that I really like, and I really wish that more gaming brands would start doing that. Finally, once you've really customized and tailored whatever sort of lighting effect you want for your keyboard, you can also hit the light sync button and use that so that all of your other HyperX products use the same lighting. So I did that with the HyperX Quadcast S here, and you can see that the lighting on these two completely matches up. So that's another neat feature about it. Other than lighting, there's a couple of customization options that you can do in there. You can reassign key bindings for base and function layers of the keyboard, so you can create macro keys, which is always a useful feature. There's also a couple game modes. They don't really do that much. They essentially just block the Alt tab, the Alt and F4 buttons, the Alt Shift tab, and the Control Escape. So basically you can just block those so that you don't accidentally hit them in game. Not a super big deal, but not nothing either. That's pretty much it though. Let's get down to the verdict. So the HyperX Ally Origins 65 MSRP's at $99.99. That's not the most expensive price for a 60% keyboard, but it's also not the cheapest. It's on the higher end of the middle ground. It's cheaper than the Razer Huntsman Mini and a bunch of the other small form factor keyboards that are being sold on the higher end, but it's more expensive than anything by Royal Clutch and, you know, like the Annie Pro 2 and other keyboards like that. What I will say is most of the keyboards that are over $100 offer some sort of wireless option. This is not wireless, it is wired only, so that is a little bit of a drawback. Still, in spite of that, we decided to give this a 4.5 out of 5. If you want a wireless keyboard, obviously you should pick a different keyboard, but if you are looking for the fastest connection possible, that's always going to be the USB Type-C. And if you're looking for the best small form factor keyboard with a great build quality, good switches, and a solid connection, in our opinion, this is pretty much the best one. So why don't you go ahead and drop down into the comments and let us know what you think. Is the addition of the arrow keys a game changer in your mind? Does that make the small form factor seem more viable than it did before, or does it not really make much of a difference in your opinion? While you're at it, please hit the like and subscribe button. We've got lots more content coming real soon, and we'd hate for you to miss any of it. Okay, everybody, thanks for watching. Happy gaming.